The heartache of losing a loved one has weighed heavily on Billy Mayhew, and in recent Coronation Street scenes, his grief led him to make an impulsive and emotional move that left fans stunned. Just weeks after saying a final goodbye to his partner Paul Foreman, Billy found himself caught up in a complicated moment with his ex, Todd Grimshaw, culminating in an unexpected kiss. Paul Foreman's, Peter Ash, battle with motor neuron disease had been a long and painful one, not only for him but for those closest to him. His death left a void in the lives of his family and friends, but it was Billy Daniel Brocklebank who had perhaps the hardest time dealing with it. Having been by Paul's side throughout his illness, Billy had struggled to come to terms with the fact that Paul was truly gone. In the recent episode, Paul's funeral took center stage, a heart-wrenching moment for his loved ones as they gathered to bid farewell. As a vicar, Billy was tasked with the emotional responsibility of leading the funeral service. His role meant he had to put on a brave face, despite the fact that his grief was still raw and unresolved. Complicating matters further was the appearance of Paul's estranged father, Denny, at the church before the service. While Billy initially warned Denny to stay out of sight to avoid causing any upset, Bernie Winter, Jane Haslegrove, soon discovered the truth and confronted Billy. Tensions flared as Bernie, hurt by Billy's actions, let slip that Paul had already passed away during their final phone call. This revelation left Billy reeling, overwhelmed by the guilt of having missed Paul's last moments. Later, at Paul's wake, the weight of his grief became too much for Billy to bear. In an effort to numb the pain, Billy turned to alcohol, drinking far more than he should have. The emotional toll of Paul's death was compounded by the fact that Billy had been unable to share his partner's final moments, a regret that weighed heavily on his heart. As the wake drew to a close, Billy found himself wandering to Victoria Gardens, where he was soon followed by Todd Grimshaw, Gareth Pierce. Todd had been a source of support for Billy in recent weeks, helping him navigate the difficult emotions surrounding Paul's illness and eventual death. Their shared history added an extra layer of complexity to their interactions, with Todd still harboring feelings for Billy, despite knowing that Billy's heart belonged to Paul. When Todd caught up to Billy in the gardens, Billy opened up about the sadness he felt, revealing his deep regret over missing Paul's final moments. Todd, trying to comfort him, suggested that perhaps Paul had found peace in their last conversation, and that it had been enough for him. As they continued to talk, Todd walked Billy back to his flat, still offering words of comfort. However, as the emotional intensity of the situation built, Billy, drunk and overwhelmed by grief, misread Todd's kindness as something more. In a vulnerable moment, Billy leaned in and kissed Todd. Todd was shocked by the kiss, immediately pulling back and making it clear that this wasn't what Billy really wanted. He understood that Billy's emotions were clouded by his grief and alcohol, and that any romantic feelings Billy had once held for him were still tied up in his mourning for Paul. Despite this, Billy lashed out, accusing Todd of leading him on, though the accusation was more a product of his emotional turmoil than any real malice. Eventually, the weight of his grief came crashing down, and Billy broke down in Todd's arms, overwhelmed by everything he was feeling. Todd, though surprised by the turn of events, stayed with Billy, offering him the support he so desperately needed in that moment. Navigating grief. In the aftermath of the kiss, Billy and Paul's family will continue to navigate their grief in upcoming episodes. Summer Spellman, Harriet Bibby, who has been deeply affected by Paul's death as well, will be seen grappling with her own emotions. As Harriet revealed at the Inside Soap Awards, everyone has a different way of grieving that we're seeing on screen right now, and how do you help or hinder each other in that process? Billy's kiss with Todd serves as a stark reminder of how grief can cloud judgment and lead people to act in ways they wouldn't normally. For Billy, the loss of Paul is an ongoing emotional battle, one that will likely take time to heal. With Todd and his loved ones around him, he won't have to face his pain alone, but the road ahead is still filled with emotional challenges. As Coronation Street continues to explore the complexities of grief, Billy's journey will be one of the most compelling, as he works to reconcile his sorrow with the need to move forward in a life without Paul.